Everywhere I look on the internet, it's talking about Nick Reiner is crazy and he's not with it and he's childlike and he doesn't know why he's in prison and he doesn't get anything. And oh, by the way, 5 years ago, he was in a legal or mental health conservatorship. And it makes me wonder, are we being played here? This video contains mature themes and discussions intended only for adult audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, hello there, my friend, and welcome back to another true crime conversation with me, Gavin Fish. Thank you very much for joining me, wherever you're joining me from. Please add in the comments where you're joining me from. I like to know where y'all are, and I play a little game to see how far away you are. It's just me. It's just me being kind of nosy. But tell me where you're coming in from. Hey, if you're into true crime, take two. That was too fast, Gavin. Take two. We'll edit that in post. If you're into take three. If you're into true crime, but you like to cut past all the fluff and sensationalism, you have found the right place. That's what we do. That's what we do here. So I'm glad that you found us, and I'm glad that you joined us. So thank you very much. Looks like we got people checking in already. We got greetings from Canada, our friendly neighbors to the north, Mid Wales in the UK, Lake George, New York, South Florida. Oh my goodness, it's refreshing faster than I can keep up with it. Tennessee, Boston, Mass, the Silver State. I am guessing that is the state of Nevada. Tigard, Oregon, Fort Worth, Texas, Tel Aviv. Now, this might be the first time, or I can't remember the last time somebody tuned in from Tel Aviv. Awesome. Northport, Florida, Central Illinois, Oceanside, California, North Central Wisconsin, Staten Island, New York, Upstate South Carolina, New Zealand is in the house, Erie, PA, Orlando, Florida, Lima, Peru. How fun is that? Thank you for being here. Piedmont of North Carolina. No one likes fluff, says Barbelson 8768. Well, I definitely don't. Quinley in Tennessee likes the bloopers. We got Devon, UK, snowy Michigan, northern Idaho, Indianapolis, Illinois, Michigan. Wow, you guys are from everywhere. Thank you very much for tuning in. South Lake Tahoe. Anyone from Greenland? Ah, yeah, somebody is tuned into current events. Okay, guys, what are we talking about today? Today we are talking about the case of the murder of Hollywood icon Rob Reiner and his equally iconic and awesome wife, Michele Singer Reiner. Sadly, the Reiners were, their lives were shortened back in December. We've been looking at this for a few weeks now, and of course, we all know that their son, Nick Reiner, who has had issues, let's say, most of his life, or reportedly. I don't know the Reiners, and we're doing our best on this channel to temper our speculation and our coverage with humanity and with compassion. But I don't know Mr. Reiner, Mr. Nick Reiner, but reportedly he has had issues with substance abuse and mental illness for a good long time. Now, what do we want to talk about today? There's so many things. The number one question I have is the reports that we're getting from TMZ. In fact, let's look at one real quick. Come over with me to this one real quick. Let me see where I can find the right button to push play. This was on Fox News. Here we go.
He is out of his head right now. We found out about 6 years ago he was diagnosed with this schizoaffective disorder, which, causes delusions, hallucinations, all sorts of things, mood disorders. And they changed his meds a month before the murders, and they changed it because he was complaining about weight gain. And it just messed him up. And that can happen when you change meds. He is not competent to stand trial right now. He is almost childlike.
Says Harvey.
in jail, we're told. He can't process the consequences of what he's done. He knows what he did. He just can't understand why he's where he is right now.
Okay, so that is, I mean, that is in a nutshell what has been being said online about the state of Nick Reiner right now. However, one of the little pieces of, let me see if I can find it here real quick. I thought I got it up. Yeah. Do you guys remember this video? Do you remember this? Do you recognize that guy? Yeah, he's doing his exercises. He's in his jail cell. He's fine. He's standing up tall. He's able to move around. I think we could even get into, oh yeah, where like he's climbing on his bed, on his desk. He's putting things up on his light. Yeah, this is the Golden State Killer. This is Joseph D'Angelo. And if you remember, during his trial, he was like this feeble old man in a wheelchair, just couldn't do anything. And yet in jail, this is the way he was acting. And that makes me wonder about Nick Reiner. Now, I saw a video that came out today. It came out today on Brian Enton's channel. Brian Enton Investigates. I'm a big fan. And he had on as a guest Maureen O'Connell, a retired FBI agent. We're going to watch a clip of this. But Ms. O'Connell said when she was in court the day that Alan Jackson, his former attorney, withdrew, she happened to just luckily land in a spot where she could see perfectly over to Nick Reiner over in the area where he was being held, and said that he looked perfectly cogent. He was nodding. He was talking with Alan Jackson when the public defender came over. I want to talk about that a little bit too, by the way. But when the public defender came over, he was talking like he was completely aware of what was going on. But then we get reports like this. I'm going to watch it again.
He is out of his head right now.
I question it. Okay, I question it. Now, I'm not questioning because I don't have any, I don't have any evidence either way anyway, I guess, Gavin. Be truthful to yourself, to thine own self be true here. But I guess I don't have any reason to doubt that he was just crazy the moment that he allegedly killed his parents, Rob and Michele Reiner. I guess I don't have any reason to doubt that, but I see very important motive as to why he might want it out there that he is not competent to stand trial right now, I guess. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me see what you guys are doing, checking in over in the live chat. Scotch Mom is saying she took a cue from me having black beans for dinner. Yes. Oh, yes. I talked about my weight loss journey a little bit today over in the fish tank. I'm sure that's what you're referring to. I do eat lots of beans and legumes and stuff like that. Wisconsin, Cat Mom, welcome. Thank you very much. Thank you very, very much. Carrots and other veg. Gavin, TMZ has been fed stuff from the Reiner team from the beginning of all this. Yes, but I'm wondering who the Reiner team is. Like in the beginning, I think it was probably the family who were on Nick's side. But listen, I've put a lot of thought into this, a lot of consideration into this, okay? The very most likely scenario, and I'm putting it at like maybe 92 or 93%. The most likely scenario as to why Alan Jackson withdrew is lack of money. I know he said, you can't say that, you can't love him, but I'm telling you, it went from Alan Jackson to the public defender, okay? It was about money. It wasn't, and I'm not casting shade on the public defender's office. They are a fine crew. But it went from, hey, I'm willing to spend millions on this defense to we won't spend anything on the defense. He's indigent. And so yeah, it's about money. But that was a tangent, right? What was carrots and other veg? TMZ has been fed stuff from the Reiner team from the beginning of all this. I wonder if they continue to be fed by the team, because in this video that we watched, he's saying that they have sources on the inside. And I'm sure that they have clinical expertise, all the bona fides, the CV to match what they're saying about Nick. Yeah. Carrots and other veg. Sorry, I meant Nick Reiner's team. Yeah, I caught you. Alan Jackson had been paid $4 million. I figured it was a million ish, but 4 million. Dang, my goodness. I do not know. Quinley says, "I'm sorry, I don't trust that retired FBI lady." We will. We're gonna watch a clip. We're gonna watch a clip. But before we do, let's remind ourselves, shall we, about an article that came out in the New York Times a few days ago. It was back on the 15th. Bring it up so that the folks can see it, Gavin. Titled "Nick Reiner was in a mental health conservatorship in 2020." This broke about a week ago, right? Blah, blah, blah. Let me get into this. The revelation of the conservatorship underscores the severity of the mental health challenges Mr. Reiner faced in recent years, issues that are likely to be central to his legal defense. Mr. Reiner, 32, has a serious mental illness and had struggled in the weeks before his arrest with a change in his medication. Two other people familiar with his health told the New York Times on the condition of anonymity to discuss sensitive medical information. If they're healthcare providers, then they would be breaking the law. So, yeah, I'm sure they were given anonymity. One of those people said he had been diagnosed at different times with schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder. And then it keeps on going. You have to be pretty severe to be placed on a mental health conservatorship in California, said Lee Blumen, a lawyer with expertise on such cases. All of the people who come into the system, a very small group of people, actually get placed on conservatorship. Okay, so I looked up what conservatorship, this actually is from the Santa Clara Superior Court's website. It talks about what an LPS is. A mental health conservatorship makes one adult, called the conservator, responsible for a mentally ill adult, called the conservatee. These conservatorships are only for adults with mental illnesses listed in the Diagnostic and Statistic Manual of Mental Disorders, also known as the DSM. The most common illnesses are serious biological brain disorders like schizophrenia, bipolar disorder, schizoaffective disorder, clinical depression, and obsessive compulsive disorder. LPS conservatorships are not for people with organic brain disorders, brain trauma. Uses the R word, which I think is a perfectly good legal term, retardation. Though I understand that a lot of people are sensitive to that word. Alcohol or drug addiction or dementia, unless they also have one of the serious brain disorders listed in the DSM. LPS comes from the names of the California legislators who wrote the act: Lanterman, Petrus, and Short. So it's a pretty serious thing, but if it were all that serious, no. Let's rephrase. Maybe take two again. Let's edit that out in post. I need a name for my fictitious producer. I will take suggestions in the live chat. It would be fun to come up with a name. Anywho, it was serious enough to get a conservatorship, but not serious enough to last more than a year. And I don't know. It makes me wonder that, again, trying to temper my speculation with compassion and humanity, because these folks right here, while no, there's no qualifier here, seem to be fine folks who worked hard to raise their children and to do so responsibly and lovingly. But it makes me wonder if I mean, Rob Reiner said it in his own words that he thought that maybe he should stop taking the advice of professionals and just be a little more loving and caring. So it makes me wonder if the Reiners worked to make that conservatorship only last a year. If you guys know anything more about that, I would love to get some insights on that. But it was only serious enough to last a year, and that started in 2020. We're a little over 5 years ago. Does was his mental health stabilizing until that fateful medication change? I don't know. Yeah, but the conservator has so many powers, guys. Let's see. If asked, the court can give the conservator the duty to take care of and protect the seriously mental ill person, and also the power to handle financial matters of the seriously mental ill person. The conservator can give consent to mental health treatment even if the conservatee objects. She or he can legally agree to the use of psychotropic, mind-altering drugs, but the conservatee may physically refuse to take them. Also, the conservator can agree to place the mentally ill person in a locked facility if a psychiatrist says it is needed and the hospital agrees to take the person, whether or not the conservatee agrees. The conservator can also decide where the mentally ill person will live when she or he is not locked in a psychiatric facility. An LPS conservator must have enough medical and social information before making decisions for the conservatee, and the conservator must only take actions that are best for the mentally ill person. The LPS conservator can also make financial decisions for the seriously mentally ill person, like paying the bills and collecting a person's income. So yeah, there is so many powers that are granted to a conservator, obviously for the safety of the conservatee. But why did it last only a year? And how does this feed into my fear that which button am I trying? No, wrong button, Gavin. That he is faking the illness while in custody right now, harkening back again to the Golden State Killer, Mr. D'Angelo. Fun fact for those of you who are new around here, Mr. D'Angelo lived in a adjoining neighborhood to the neighborhood that I grew up in, and lived pretty darn close to one of my friends. I would pass that house occasionally as I would go over to my friend's house. I don't like thinking about that. But you guys know what I mean? Is Nick Reiner faking it right now? It seems that he has been he's been good enough of a manipulator over the years that anyway, I just think that he's probably pretty good at it. Let's see. Barb says it was in Brian's video. The 4 million was brought up. Okay. All right. I did watch the video. I guess I didn't pay close enough attention. Marianne Leary says, according to the clips of Nick Reiner, he himself talked about acting crazy to get his own way. Yeah, I remember that. So yeah, I think he's a pretty darn good manipulator. Is your producer's name Ms. Minnow? Miss Minnow or Ms. I imagine my producer is a modern woman. If she is a woman at all, it would be a Ms., not a Miss. But I am not a formal person. Guys, what are we doing right now? What are we doing right now? This is apropos of nothing. But I like the suggestion. That's pretty good. Fictitious producer name suggestion, Giles. I do like first names. I like that. Let's see. Reality Vacation says LPS conservatorship is usually set with a 1-year limit automatically. Okay, but I would imagine if they are, if the conservatee is not well enough, they can be extended, right? Interesting indeed, and thank you. Oh, and look at that. To be renewed if necessary. Yeah, producer suggestion, Mr. Magic. Now again, I'm a first name person. So is Mr. Magic? What's Mr. Magic's first name? I imagine Octavius. Octavius Magic. I don't know. I don't know. Clearly, a producer of yours should be named Wanda. Okay. We'll think about these things. We'll think about them. Okay. The next thing that I want to bring up, guys, is I'm going to go to the Brian Enton video. I want to remind us of something that Dr. Drew has stated on multiple occasions, but he did it here on Brian Enton's show. Let's bring it up so you can see it. Here we go.
When I heard about it, I said this has got to be methamphetamine, because methamphetamine causes people to be violent, causes them to pick up sharp objects. You see, are you in Los Angeles very often?
Sometimes, yeah. I live in Florida, but sometimes.
All right. Well, the guys running around our streets with machetes, that's methamphetamine. They all are meth. So it's not at all unusual for somebody on meth to become violent and to pick up a sharp object. Now, when somebody does it against a family member, they are typically in like a fugue state. And my prediction will be he won't remember what happened, and he will not be lying. And whether that fugue was related to his psychotic illness or meth or both, it kind of doesn't matter.
I thought that was really interesting where he said he won't remember and he probably, and he wouldn't be lying. A fugue state is a rare psychological condition where a person suddenly, unexpectedly travels or wanders away from home, experiences a loss of personal identity or amnesia, and sometimes assumes a new identity, often triggered by severe stress or trauma, with the episode lasting hours to months before memories usually return, though the person may not remember the fugue itself. Right? So let's just watch this one more time. He's talking about methamphetamines.
When I heard about it, I said this has got to be methamphetamine, because methamphetamine causes people to be violent, causes them to pick up sharp objects. You see, are you in Los Angeles very often?
Sometimes, yeah. I live in Florida, but sometimes.
All right. Well, the guys running around our streets with machetes, that's methamphetamine. They all are meth. So it's not at all unusual for somebody on meth to become violent and to pick up a sharp object. Now, when somebody does it against a family member, they are typically in like a fugue state. And my prediction will be he won't remember what happened, and he will not be lying. And whether that fugue was related to his psychotic illness or meth or both, it kind of doesn't matter.
Kind of doesn't matter. So, but to me, that doesn't. What am I trying to say? That doesn't really factor into his reported behavior in custody right now. I'm still kind of leaning toward him being Nick Reiner. Maybe he doesn't remember it. Maybe he doesn't remember it. But is he childlike and quote unquote crazy in custody right now? And again, I do not. I don't lean that way. I don't feel like he is. Okay, the last clip I want to show you guys is Maureen O'Connell on the same show with Brian Enton. She's a retired FBI agent. This one's a little bit longer, about 4 minutes long. Let's dig in.
There are some new reports too that the staff at the medical examiner's office, who obviously
Oh, I didn't set this up at all. Okay, again, guys, we're gonna do our best, right? Let me refresh this. To temper our speculation with humanity and with compassion. But this kind of goes to, how am I setting this up? This kind of goes to the crime scene itself. Dr. Drew talked about him being in a fugue state, possibly on meth. It's the drug of violence. The guys that walk around with machetes in LA, they're all meth heads, according to Dr. Drew, right? Now, Dr. Drew said if you attack family, that might be a fugue state, but whether that's meth related or related to some psychotic break, it doesn't really matter. Now they're going to talk about the scene and what the scene might tell investigators. Okay, here we go.
There are some new reports too that the staff at the medical examiner's office, who obviously see a lot, were even particularly disturbed by the condition of Rob and Michele, which, I don't want to get too gruesome, and you and I have talked about it before, but it must have really been a bad scene.
It had to be a bad scene because since we last spoke, and I know I may have mentioned it before, but more and more, I really believe they were both wide awake when this thing happened. I think that when he
That is horrifying to me. One would hope that they would be asleep when an attack began, but let's continue.
came into the room, it was like a startling event. I don't know if he jumped on his dad over the covers to straddle him or what. Um, because if as a human, when we're going against two people, like if you're getting into a fight, you need to incapacitate at least one of them relatively quickly. And so my thought process is it's going to be the dad because we have all these people saying that his dad would restrain him when he would lose his mind and or act up or whatever he was doing, just try to restrain him. And so that would be the first person that I would try to, and I hate to use the word neutralize, but in his mind, that's what he's thinking. So if your parents are under the covers, and you jump on one of them, if you've ever had an older sibling tickle you or anything, and you're under the covers, and they get on top, you're done. You just, you can't move. You can't move your arms. You can't move anything. But at that same point, you would then wake up your mom or whoever, if it happened in the reverse, which I wouldn't suspect. So my thought is more and more and more, they were both awake. They were both witnessing what was happening, not only at the hands of their son, but to the person they loved, because those two just loved each other. It was obvious that Rob Reiner and his wife Michele loved each other. And I mean, when you just imagine that scene, it would make sense to me that it was a gnarly, gnarly crime scene.
Yeah, this is one where I'd honestly hoped. Well, and this is her speculation, right? This isn't fact. This is her speculation. But I have hoped that it was some sort of like blitz attack where they didn't know what hit them and it was over before they knew it. But Maureen, the more she thinks about it, she thinks probably not. It'll be interesting to see what comes out of the medical examiner's office in court proceedings. Oh gosh.
If he started by attacking his dad and stabbing his dad, why do you think Michele couldn't get away or run down to the phone? Or do you think she was just trying to stop him? Or
Yeah, it's instinctive for her to stop him. It's also instinctive for her to help her husband. I mean, you can't, in a situation like that, Brian, obviously time is of the essence, and you understand very clearly that it's not going to take too many strikes for him to end Rob's life.
yeah,
Thinking of conversations that I've had with detectives before, there may be lots of sharp force injuries, lots of blows, lots of slices and stabs and cuts and stuff like that. But the it depending on where those happen, the person can be incapacitated quickly, not be able to defend themselves at all. Now, if I could just quibble with Ms. O'Connell, I am aware of a case that I covered locally in Western Pennsylvania in my day job as a reporter, where a man, again, in some sort of psychotic episode, attacked an elderly couple, not with a knife. It was with, basically what happened was the man, the male victim The female victim handed the male victim a gun to protect themselves, and the perpetrator wrestled that gun away from him, a former Marine. Don't come after me. There are no ex-Marines. I get it. But yeah, a discharged Marine got the gun away from him. And then what ended up happening is the woman ran. So I don't know that it's always instinct. Sometimes that self-preservation instinct. And I don't blame her at all. She saved her life. And I don't think that she could have saved her husband's. But anyway, that's just a little quibble, but she would have more firsthand knowledge than I would on cases like these.
Gosh, I hate like where my mind goes. Even it's terrible to think about the two of them in bed and the way you described. It's really a good description though, being under the covers. I never thought about that. You really can't, like if someone's on top of you, it is like a straitjacket almost.
Yeah. And the only times I've ever had that happen to me, I have a great big family, and your sister jumps on you to scare you and tickle you and everything, and you just can't move. And if you're ticklish, you just have to lay there and and laugh until it's over because you cannot defend yourself, you cannot move. Um, but first we talked about approaching, like if you were going to do the sneak up version of it, then I felt at that point, if that's what the situation was, one would have to pull the cover down or the sheets down a little bit. But I don't know. I mean, I'm telling you, the blood pattern analysis and the blood spatter, the wounding, the ME is going to be able to tell a very, very distinctive story about what happened to whom, when, which happened first, you know.
Yeah, I'm curious how far Nick Reiner will take this, if he will plead to something, if the DA will bargain with him for a plea deal, or if this is going to go to trial and we're going to see some of these pieces of evidence. I don't know. The likelihood is that there will be some kind of plea bargain, just going off of what happens, right? Typically, but we'll see. Let me see. Sandy McCracken coming in to us from Dallas. Thank you very much. Bobby McCrae says the family most likely has pulled the funding. Otherwise, they just would have gotten another attorney and not the public defender. My point exactly. Yeah, Bobby. What is it? J.E. Criggs says if he was in a fugue state and wouldn't remember the incident, then why has Nick admitted to having unalived his parents? Well, that's been reported. I don't know. Producer's name should be Dory. Oh, Dory. Man, that's a good one. Producer name should be Jack Dempley. Is that pronounced Cichlid? I know what fish you're talking about. Yeah, perhaps Jack. I like on Conan O'Brien Needs a Friend. Eduardo is the guy that's the producer. I like that Latin flair. I like that. Let's see. Reading to plants. Gavin, is the conservatorship of his person or estate? They are two separate types. No conservator of the estate likely means he has no money. I think an LPS conservatorship is a conservatorship of your person. Yeah. Christine Callison says, I was a conservator. To my nephew with severe mental health issues. He was such a good manipulator. He convinced his therapist that he was well, and they believed him. I imagine, and thank you for sharing that, Christine. I imagine over time they become better and better and better at it. D says, I do not like this woman. She starts her opinion as fact. She seems egotistical. Okay. Yeah, maybe not for everyone. Carrots and other veg. Gavin, genuine fugue states are incredibly rare, even for people with schizophrenia and schizoaffective disorder. Thank you. Jenny, welcome. Welcome to Fanatic. Thank you for joining. Let's see. Reality Vacation Gabor Mate, I guess, is a leading addiction specialist and says that addiction is largely closely tied with trauma, and trauma can be associated with fugue and disassociated states. I don't know this, but Nick Reiner said that he started abusing substances kind of in reaction to his dad being so famous and just kind of being a rebellious nature. Now, perhaps that is traumatic. I mean, I remember I joke now that I'm slowly evolving or metamorphosizing into my own father. It's not all that slow. The metamorphosis is nearly complete. But for most of my life, I talked about how, I mean, I just hated being in the shadow of my father. And I mean, talk about my dad he's only well regarded in the circles that know him. He's not a famous person like Rob Reiner, but he's only well regarded, and it still bothered me. I couldn't go anywhere. I was just talking to a friend about this recently, that like I can't go anywhere and not have the I guess the possibility of somebody saying, "Gavin Fish, huh? Are you related to John Fish?" Like I've been in surprising parts of the world and have had that question. So it used to drive me nuts. These days I'm like, dude, my dad's rad, and I used to be uncomfortable in his shadow, but it's actually quite cool under here, so I kind of like it. So, but maybe that's the trauma that led to his addiction. I don't know. Carrots and other veg. The type of meds I think he was on do not make you motivated or angry, hence the weight gain in the lethargy. But meth and coke are meds of motivation. You are more motivated to violence. Yeah, and yes, she was former FBI. Yes, let me see. Carrot says, a gun is a whole different thing. It very much is. When is the next court date? I think it's February 3rd, if I remember correctly. I'm just pulling that out of memory. Let me look it up. When is Nick Reiner's next court date? February 23rd. I should have remembered that. That date is an important date. February 23rd is the answer to your question. Reading to Plants 8955. Gavin, I'm an attorney and I have a theory about A.J. Allen Jackson withdrawing that I haven't heard others discuss. Well, Reading to Plants, lay it on me. I want to know. D producer. No, don't have it quite yet. Cabling. My brother had a drug problem and absolutely convinced everyone he was not a bad guy, just drugs. Carrots and other veg. Oh my days, the number of I'm all cured now patients I've seen. Yeah. All right, let's see. Coming in from Wales with the coolest flag. Wales does have a cool flag. It does. Finnegan or a second Dory for the producer. I like Finnegan. I like Dory. We'll have to think. We're going to have to try it on. Kate in Virginia says, Kate, I don't know if you know this, but Virginia is for lovers. Just in case you didn't know. Okay. There's a fellow named Cody Green who has schizophrenia and does a lot of educational stuff on social media about it, who might be an interesting interview. Thank you. I will. Thank you very much. Oh, Javier. Or should we do it Javier? I've heard people say it Javier, but of course it is not. It is Javier. Yeah, or Guillermo. Or Guillermina, perhaps. I don't know. Hannah Bell, 9615. My daughter has schizoaffective disorder, and her treatment history has been a lot like Nick's. Treatment helps sometimes, but once she is on her own, it all goes to hell. they could stay well if, and then it cut off. But yeah, it's very, very difficult. It's, I understand why there are no good solutions, because the problem is just so hard. I think if I could, let's see, Reading a Plant says, if Nick is incompetent, he cannot consent to Alan Jackson being his attorney. A public defender is appointed and so can represent a client without a client's consent. Let's see. Can a public defender be appointed in California without client's consent? Yes, a court in California can appoint a public defender or conflict counsel even without a client's explicit consent, especially if the client appears indigent or requests one at arraignment, or if a judge determines it's in the interest of justice, though the client typically has to agree to use them and meet eligibility. Meet eligibility is important, but can't generally force appointment if they don't qualify or want private counsel unless the judge agrees, and the right is to effective assistance of counsel, not a specific lawyer. So, I mean, it's a good argument to make. I just don't know that I buy it. I just don't know that I buy it. I'm more along the lines of Alan Jackson wasn't getting paid. And I don't blame him. You got to get paid. You've got staff, you've got overhead, and you want to make a good living for yourself. I don't blame him if that is why he decided to do what he did. But I think that's the more likely scenario, respectfully. Reading the Plants again says, to hire a private attorney, you have to have capacity to sign a contract such as a fee agreement. Okay. Producer named Jeff Jesse, man or woman, and that's the kid that freed the whale on Free Willy. Jesse. Yeah, I will consider that one. Cabling, they blame everyone else and blame their parents even more. His parents had the money and protected his mental health. He has been beyond help for years now. I have it, says Connie Sandvik. Gabino pescado. Yeah, I don't want to be talking to a Latino version of myself, though. I mean, I appreciate it. It's a valiant effort. Anyway, guys, you know what time it is right now? It is time to get into 3 questions.
It's 3 questions with Gavin Fish.
Pow. Okay, in the 3 questions segment, guys, I read 3 questions that were sent in by you to the email address on the screen, 3questions@gavinfish.com, 3questions@gavinfish.com. It's spelled out THREE questions@gavinfish.com. And I solemnly promise that I will do my best to answer completely and honestly any question that you ask me. Yes, you can ask me multiple questions. You can send in 1,000 if you want. You can do it in one email. You can do it in many emails. It doesn't matter to me. The main thing is, though, that I will answer 3 at a time. So that is what we are going to do today. And what I ask of you during the 3 questions segment, and I know you don't want any work. I get it. You don't want it. Like, I'm relaxing, Gavin. I'm listening to what you have to say. I just want to relax. But nay, I have work for you. And I'm sorry, but we all got to make efforts and sacrifices sometimes. Okay. What I ask of you is that you give me your answers. I love to hear your answers in the live chat and in the comments. So if you're in the rewatch crew or if you're on the podcast, put it in the comments. I love to read those. Okay. Question number 1. Have you ever told a lie to protect a friend or family member? If so, do you regret it? Of course. I've told a lie to protect a friend or family member. I'm not going to give like any specifics. That's not something that I tend to do in my adulthood. This is more the kind of thing that I would do in my childhood, in my younger years. Remember, by the way, that to protect yourself, if you are in danger, it could be physical danger, emotional danger, it could be psychological danger. You do not have to abide by social norms and etiquette. Okay? You can lie. You can say, I gotta go. My mom's expecting me. Whatever, right? You can lie. But I'm sure that's not what is being asked here. Have you ever told a lie to protect a friend or family member? The answer is obviously yes. Do I regret it? I work very hard in my own, I call them personal inventories. Once a week at least, I have a quick little session. Sometimes it takes a minute, sometimes it takes an hour. Just like, an inventory of who I am and what I'm about and what I've been doing and where am I struggling? What have I done wrong? I do this at least once a week, and in those little personal inventories of my life, I work very, very hard not to live with regret. Now, there are things that I am sad that I did, but I'm happy with who I am and where I am. And all of the little things that led me here are important to have happened in order for me to land here. So, do I regret it? No. Have I learned from it? Yes, absolutely. And that is a great question. I'd love to hear your comments. Question number 2. If you had the opportunity to start your life over, at what age would you start? What would you change? Oh, man, that is a good question. First off, I wouldn't change anything, I think, because I want to end up where I am. I don't want any little parallel universe Gavins running around having a different spouse or different children because I decided to drink whole milk instead of chocolate milk sometime in the 4th grade. I don't want that to happen. But if I could start it over knowing that I would end up in the exact same place and would have the same people in my life, I think I'd start at about 12. Yeah. I would start at about 12. I had a freaking happy childhood, guys. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. And I'm sorry for those who didn't have this, but I had parents who loved each other and loved me and loved my siblings. They guarded, protected, provided for us. I had friends that came from also amazing families. I lived in a neighborhood that was safe. I went to schools with teachers who were invested in the future of their students, myself included. I had a church family that I loved. I had such a terrific childhood. I would love to go back just to experience it again, but I would not change a thing. Yeah, love to hear your thoughts on that too. Last question of the day. Oh no, what did I do? Let's see. I did that one. Oh, what kind of music do I listen to? This is a question that has come up pretty frequently, but you guys don't watch every single one of these, so I got to answer it, right? I tend to gravitate toward rock and roll of the 60s, 70s. I do like the music of the 80s and 90s, which is when I was coming of age. I graduated high school in 1993, so kind of that 87 to 93 era was a really, really good time. So I listened to a lot of that music. If I go into like my liked music right now, we see things like Boy Meets Girl, we see the Beatles, we see the Kinks, we see Dylan, we see Alphaville, Chicago / Peter Cetera, Bad English, Mike and the Mechanics, Prince, of course, Poison, REO Speedwagon, The Cars. The Cars might be my favorite band right now. Of course, going into the 90s, you see Mr. Jones, see Marcy Playground. I love Heart. I love Georgia Satellites. I just love Georgia Satellites. So yeah, I listen to Cat Stevens, Sam Cooke, Aretha Franklin, Joni Mitchell, Nina Simone. I have a pretty broad. Oh, and then when I was in high school, I was really into musical theater. Actually, all my whole childhood. So I listened to a lot of show tunes and opera. We'll call them light operas, things like Phantom of the Opera or Les Miserables or Cats or something like that. But yeah, that's what I listen to, and those are our 3 questions. Now, remember to send your questions into 3questions@gavinfish.com. I don't get all that many emails. If you send in a question, you're going to get answered. Okay? Spelled out, 3questions@gavinfish.com. Now, while you are exercising your little flums, typing in as fast as your little hearts can or your little thumbs can carry you, we're going to take a look at some headlines. Here we go.
True crime headlines.
Pow. Let's see. I feel like I'm missing one of my headlines. Give me a second. I thought I had 3 tonight, but I'm only seeing 2. Let me just check this out here real quick. Yeah, there's the 3rd one. All right. Bring you on over here to Yale Acrobat. Rebecca Haro was in court today. Do you guys remember Rebecca Haro? Her crazy story about being attacked in the Big 5 parking lot and her child being stolen from her. Her husband, Jake Haro, bargained and, well, he threw himself upon the court. He admitted guilt and is now spending the rest of his unnatural days in prison, having been convicted of murder and sentenced. Rebecca, however, is still saying she's innocent. Let's read this from Garrett Hoddle from KESQ.com. Dateline, Riverside, California. Rebecca Haro appeared for a scheduled hearing in Riverside on Wednesday morning. The case related to the death of her 7-month-old Emmanuel. Haro, 41, is still in custody. Blah, blah, blah. She has pleaded not guilty to the charges related to Emmanuel's death, which was caused by prolonged abuse, according to the investigation. A felony settlement conference is a pretrial proceeding where the prosecution and defense counsel meet to determine if a case can be settled without a trial. A preliminary date has not been set, but the judge has ordered all parties to return to court on March 26th. So that's where we are on that case. Now, moving over to the death of Judge Kevin Mullins at the hand of Mickey Steins, his former co-worker and sheriff of the county. I got a little news today from Kentucky.com, written by Carla Ward. Kentucky Supreme Court sends sheriff's judge removal request back. The Kentucky Supreme Court has sent back to the lower court a request by former Letcher County Sheriff Sean Mickey Steins to have a special judge in his case removed. Steins, blah, blah, blah. Circuit Judge Christopher Corrin of Bowling Green was appointed special judge in the case, but last month Steins asked that he recuse himself or the Chief Justice of the state Supreme Court remove him. Steins' attorneys argued that the week before the shooting, Corrin sat next to Mullins at the judge's conference, which they said might sway him. Deputy Chief Justice Robert B. Conley said in an order issued Friday that Corrin needs to be given a chance to decide whether to recuse himself before the Supreme Court will consider doing so. So that is where we are there. And then lastly for you, while you're writing up the answers to your 3 questions, Michael McKee is in Ohio, the man accused of killing Monique and Spencer Tepe. The man accused of killing his ex-wife and her new husband is now in Franklin County. Michael McKee, 39, the ex-husband of Monique Tepe. Of course, we are talking about the case, where's the right button, of Spencer and Monique Tepe, who were shot to death in their Columbus home with their children in their beds close by. And Monique's ex-husband, Michael McKee, has been charged in the case. So McKee, 39, is charged with 4 counts of aggravated murder, blah, 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 blah. Federal agents arrested McKee on January 10th in Rockford, Illinois. He remained in custody there until the 20th when he arrived in Ohio, was booked into the Franklin County Jail. Franklin County Common Pleas Court will arraign McKee, looks like on Friday, January 23rd. I do not know if that will be live streamed or not, but if it is, I will do my best. I'll do my best to cover it. We may not live cover it, but I'll do my best to cover it. Those are your headlines.
True crime headlines.
Okie dokie. To finish out the show, let me just check in one more time on what you guys are saying. November 81 says, driving in Minnesota snowstorm at rush hour, so happy to have the velvet voice of Gavin Fish to keep me calm. That is me, Gavin Fish, the velvet voice of true crime. Thank you very much. Maybe that should be our new slogan. Jenny says, Gavin, 100% agree. Live with no regrets. You can't change the past. Work to make sure you're happy with who you are daily. Yes, and add to it, learn from your copious mistakes, right? Thanks, Jenny. D9072 says, 0 changes for me. I would go through all the hard times again so I could have the amazing adult child I have. Good for you. Yeah, I wouldn't change anything for the relationship that I have with Kimberly and the kiddos. Not only do we have 5 terrific kids, but we have a terrific son-in-law too. I have said in the past that understanding it doesn't work this way, but if we could have the same children, I would have gotten rid of that gap, because we have almost 10 years between child number 3 and child number 4. It would be cool to have a smaller gap there. But then again, it's been fun to be old with little kids. So yeah, wouldn't change it. Oh, this is funny. Pammy says, I would start my life over after the birth of my kids, and then I would change my marital status. That is funny. Rooter says, I had a great childhood. Adult life, not so much. Well, I hope that turns around for you, Rooter. And I'm glad you had a good childhood, because that is the foundation. That is the foundation. And you know what? It hasn't been all like rainbows and unicorns and beautiful sunrises and sunsets in our life, in my life. Kimberly and I have been through hardship, but for us, it kind of, I describe it as zipping us up together. We were 2 people until we went through those times, and it just zipped us right together. And so I'm grateful for them. I don't want to relive them, but I am grateful for them. Let's see. Beach Fairy says, yeah, I think although that age would be the best to redo, it would take me back in my family home, which would not be something I'd want to live again. So I guess I'll stick with where I am. Good for you. Let's see. Very grateful through some guidance, says Sharky Serona. I've cleaned up the wreckage of my past. No regrets. Good on ya. Good on ya. Reality Vacation. Did you ever post a video or something with the title Nick Goes to Trial? I swear I saw the cover graphic. It was so vivid. If not, I bet you a bag of chocolate licorice. It does go to trial. I think I probably did do that. I don't know. I don't know if it will. Beach Fairy says, 2 of my questions have been read already, but my favorite one hasn't. Gavin, so please do all answer it eventually. It made me laugh to think about your potential answers. Well, maybe we will get to the next one tomorrow. Jenny says, someone once told me, one day you'll pick your child up for the last time and you won't even realize it until the time has passed. That stuck with me. Yeah, that is true. It's not true for my wife. My wife, who is the cutest little thing ever, still like grabs our adult children and says, come up on here. And she'll like, I take pictures of it. I think it's hilarious. All of our children are bigger than her. All of our 3 olders are, but she'll like, come on, buddy. I can hold you. She'll like lift up a 165-pound man, put him on her hip. Pretty funny. Let's see if there's anything else. Gavin, do you have Michael's new mugshot pic? I don't yet, but I will get it. And Karina says, greetings from New Zealand. Good to have some Kiwi friends. Your voice is very pleasant to listen to at work. Well, thank you again. Well, I am the velvet voice of true crime. That's what I am. We're gonna have. I think that might stick. That one might stick, and maybe Javier. Javier is where I'm leaning for our fictitious producer. So, guys, thanks so much for spending a little time with me tonight. I am so grateful. Remember that you can always go and visit me on my website, gavinfish.com. Let me bring it up for y'all to see. It is a website that is chock full of case files and articles and blog posts. So please check that out. While you're at it, subscribe to CrimeCod. It's a de vez en cuando newsletter, one newsletter that I send out every once in a while. Yeah, sign up for it. Join several thousand who have, and a few thousand who have. And then you can reach out to me using this little form. If you click on the envelope up in the upper right-hand corner, it'll take you to a form, which you can use to contact me. And if you click on the fishy, that will take you to the tank, the fish tank, where we hang out on Facebook. And you are always so cordially invited to join us there. With that, I bid you adieu. Thank you very much for being here. I'll catch you on the next one. Good night. Thank you very much for watching this video. If you liked what you saw, please consider subscribing. And if you have any questions or comments, please leave them below.